Hello everyone. Today we're looking at biology paper 1, October November 2016, and variant 1 2. So let's begin. The first question says the diagram shows a plant cell. Which two features are not found in animal cells? Okay, so let's just name all of these and then we can easily find out the answer. This is cell sap vacuole, which is found in plants. This is cell wall. Cell wall, this is nucleus, this is cytoplasm, and this is cell membrane. So out of these, which two structures are not found in animal cells? That is cell sap vacuole and cell wall. So this is A, because animal cells only have cell membrane, not cell wall. Moving on to question number 2. The rate of nitrate ions absorption by a root hair cell was measured at different soil nitrate concentrations. At X, the concentration of nitrate ions in the soil is the same as in the cell. Which graph shows how the rate of absorption varies with nitrate concentration in the soil? So, pretty simple. So we know that root hair cell, they take up nitrates and magnesium ions by active transports. So regardless of the concentration of nitrate and magnesium ions in the soil, they will still keep on taking the nitrate ions and magnesium ions, irrespective of the fact that there's higher concentration of these ions in the soil or in the cell and all. So now this shows that even though at X the concentration of the soil and the cell, it was the same, but it still kept on taking as it was before. And here it says that after, when it got equal, it stopped taking. And this shows that it wasn't taking up any nitrate ions, and then when it became equal, and then after that it started taking up. So this is like the most I would say the best option for the answer, because as I told you, through active transport, the root hair cell, they take up nitrate ions and magnesium ions, so they don't really care when the concentration is equal or when the concentration higher or less. They just have to keep taking it in, and so this is the answer. Moving on to question number 3. The diagram represents apparatus used to investigate osmosis. Which molecules will move across the partially permeable membrane, and which change will occur in the solution level? So this is water, this is concentrated starch solution. So obviously this is more concentrated than this. This is hypertonic, this is hypotonic. So the water is going to move in the tube. So water, obviously, okay. The thing is, in osmosis, molecules, they do not move. It is the water molecules that always move. So these two are out. Water will move, and since it will be moving in the tube, the level, it will rise. So this is D. Starch digestion occurs in the mouth cavity and in the duodenum, but it stops in the stomach. Why is this? All the starch has been digested before it reaches the stomach. No, we take in food and it stays in our mouth for a relatively short amount of time, so it doesn't get time to be fully digested. Cells in the stomach do not produce amylase. The pH in the stomach alters the shape of the amylase. The temperature in the stomach is too high for amylase to work. So this is wrong. So now we're left with B and C. If you read them once, you think that both can be the answers, but if you read them again, you have to understand the fact that it's not about being able to produce the amylase or not. It's clearly written even in the book that okay, so the thing is, when the food reaches the stomach, the amylase action is still going on. So even if the stomach cells, they do not produce amylase, but amylase action will still be going on. So it's about the acid in the stomach that stops the action of amylase. Even though cells in the stomach do not produce amylase, that is right. This is correct. But this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that when the food reaches the stomach, the amylase action is still going on. It's the pH that alters the shape of the amylase. So this is C. One of the tissues in the leaf was described as consisting of loosely packed cells with a layer of moisture on their surface to dissolve gases, so the gases can diffuse into the cells. To which tissue was the description referring? This is spongy mesophyll cell, because we have epidermal cells, and we have palisade mesophyll cells, which are long cylindrical cells, and then we have the spongy mesophyll cells, which are like loosely packed cells with a layer of moisture, and this is where it contains the highest amount of chloroplast as well. Moving on towards question number 6. A growing plant is regularly watered with the solution. The composition of the solution is changed, after which the plant leaves become yellow in color. How can this problem be corrected? Adding amino acid to the solution, adding magnesium ions to the solution, bubbling carbon dioxide. These two are wrong. Okay, so you have to understand that amino acids generally means nitrate ions. And nitrate ions are responsible for growth for production of chloroplast, as well as the growth of the plant, while magnesium ions are responsible for the production of chloroplast. So if they become yellow, that means we have to add magnesium ions. Moving on towards next question number 7. The diagram shows a green shoot photosynthesizing under a glass jar. This was used as a control experiment in a laboratory investigation. Which diagram shows the experiment carried out to investigate the need for carbon dioxide in photosynthesis? So obviously control is something which is like the exact same experiment, but only one thing is changed. So this is in sunshine. The control experiment has to be in sunshine as well. So these two, this is wrong because this is placed in dark. And there is nothing placed here because we have something placed here, so we need to have, it's like the copy paste of this experiment, but there's like one thing that has to be changed, and we can see that everything is same except this. So this is gonna be A. Moving on towards question number 8. The diagram shows the alimentary canal and some associated organ. Which row shows where amylase is released? We know amylase, it breaks down starch into maltose. This happens in mouth. This is stomach. This is duodenum, and this is ileum. So we know at 2, not at this is 1. Yes, it does happen at 1 because duodenum, pancreas secretes pancreatic amylase that travels to the duodenum. Yes. 2, yes. 3, no. 4, no. So this is A. The diagram shows a section of the wall of the small intestine into which structure are most lipid compound absorbed for transport to the rest of the body. We know lipids are fats, and fats are digested in absorbed in lacteal, lacteal capillary, lymph capillary, which we say. Lymph capillary. Moving on to question number 10. Which chemical change does not occur in the liver? Amino acid to glucose? No. Glucose to amino acids? Yes. This is a function of liver that it can convert excess amino acids to glucose, but it can never convert glucose to amino acids. This is like a fact. In which direction do water molecules move in the phloem and in the xylem of a plant stem? Phloem both up and down, and xylem up only. Reason being because phloem, what does phloem do? Phloem translocates water and sucrose and amino acid solutions from the leaves to other parts of the plant. In in daylight, when the plant is actively photosynthesizing, it is producing more and more glucose molecules, which are converted to sucrose for transported and are transported to roots, stems, and all. But at night, when the plant is no longer photosynthesizing, the leaves, they require glucose as they still require glucose at night. So what phloem does is that it takes starch, converts it into starch is converted into glucose, and then phloem translocates that to the leaf from the roots and stems. So it's like both up and down. And xylem, it only transports water and mineral salts from the roots to stems and leaves. This is D. Moving on to question number 12, the photomicrograph shows part of this section through root. The contents of cell X and the contents of cell Y are each tested with Benedict solution and with iodine solution, which results are expected. Now, cell X is xylem, and this is phloem. Now, xylem transport water and mineral salts, and Benedict is used for sucrose, reducing sugars, and then iodine is used to test for starch. So this is, this is going to be the answer because phloem translocates sucrose and amino acids. Sucrose is a reducing sugar which can be tetrabenedict and therefore will be positive. The rest will be negative because this is for starch and reducing sugar which is not transported by xylem. Moving on to question number 13. The photograph shows a cross section of an artery. Which labeled part would be of the same thickness in a vein? A. Okay, so the thing is, it's gonna be C, because if you keep thinning it out, this will thin out, this will thin out, but this will remain the same. This D is the lumen, and lumen will be large in vein, and these A and B will thin out in a vein, while C is the innermost layer that will be the same in a vein as well. In a muscle, which two substances show net movement from the plasma into tissue fluid? From the plasma. Now the plasma means the blood, and the blood has high concentration of glucose and oxygen, which diffuses into the tissue fluid and then into the cell. So we have glucose and oxygen. Moving on towards question number 15. The diagram shows an external view of the heart. The left coronary artery is blocked at the point labeled X. How would the blockage first affect the heart? Blood is prevented from entering the heart. No, blood is entering through vena cava, and all that will keep on occurring. Cells in the wall of the left ventricle die because this is on the left side, and on the left side we have the left ventricle and left atrium. So the left ventricle on the the left ventricle is on the lower side, so this will die. In a sprint race, athletes may have a sharp muscle pain because the respiring cells produce lactic acid. So we know, when they're vigorously exercising, they require more energy, and so along with aerobic respiration, they also start respiring anaerobically, and anaerobic respiration converts glucose in the absence of oxygen to lactic acid and a little amount of energy. So that lactic acid is irritates nerve endings and all. Moving on towards question number 17. The diagram shows some structures in the respiratory system. What are the labeled structures? So this is, we know, trachea. Then we have the trachea divided into two bronchus, and then so we have trachea, bronchus, and then bronchule. So trachea, bronchus, and then it divides itself into bronchioles. So 4 is bronchioles and 3 is alveoli. Alveoli is like the air sacs. Moving on towards question number 18. The diagram shows apparatus used to investigate respiration. Which change will be seen and what is the explanation? So we know in respiration we use glucose in the presence of oxygen to convert it into carbon dioxide and water. So sodium hydroxide. So when germinating peas are respiring, when germinating peas are respiring, they're gonna take in oxygen from the atmosphere and they're gonna produce carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide, when it is being released, it is being absorbed. So there's only gonna be net movement of oxygen from the atmosphere, and so it's gonna move to the left. So oil drop moves to the left. An explanation, because oxygen is used up by the peas. This is not the part of 2023 syllabus, so we're not going to be doing this question. Moving on towards question number 20. Which row shows the part of the urinary system that carries out different functions? Makes urine, we know kidney makes it. Bladder, it stores, bladder, what it does, that it just stores bile, not urine. Kidney carries urine, we know that's ureter, holds urine, bladder. Okay, the reason why it can be bladder is because bladder stores urine and it doesn't make it. So kidney, ureter, bladder, and then urethra. On a hot day, how does the skin react to lower the internal temperature of the body? So when the internal temperature increases, hypothalamus sends nerve impulses to various parts of the body to lower that temperature down. So arterioles, they dilate, yes. Then we have sweat production increases and hair lies flat against the skin. The eye changes focus from looking at a wristwatch to looking at an airplane flying overhead. Which change occurs inside the eye? So when you're looking at something far, the light rays coming from it are parallel, and therefore the ciliary muscles, they relax. The suspensory ligaments, they get taut, and the curvature of the lens, it decreases. So shape of the lens thinner, suspensory ligaments tight, and ciliary muscles relax. 222D. Moving on towards question number 23. A person is sitting in a darkened room. After 5 seconds, the light is turned on. 5 seconds after, the light is turned off again. Which graph shows the changes in the diameter of their pupils? So when the light is off, the pupil gets dilated so that so that more light can enter our eyes and we can clearly see the objects in our darkened room. But when the light gets on, there's so much light around that the pupils, it constricts so that the size gets smaller and little light can enter to prevent damage to our retina. So first pupil diameter will increase, then it will gradually decrease because light is turned on, then it will increase again. Why not this? Because this is wrong, because when it's dark, the diameter has to be big, and it won't stay small forever. Nerve impulses in neurons can travel away from the central nervous system towards the central nervous system within the central nervous system. In which direction do impulses in sensory and relay neurons travel? So we know sensory neurons, they transmit nerve impulses from the receptor to the brain or spinal cord depending on the action. So we have sensory neuron, it towards the central nervous system, to and within the central nervous system. C. Oh, sorry, D. Sorry. Moving on towards question number 25. Which is an antibiotic? A chemical produced by bacterium that kills viruses? No. This is completely wrong because antibiotics do not work on viruses. Antibiotics are only for bacteria. And we know, for example, if we take an example, penicillin. Now, penicillin is an antibiotic which is produced by the fungus Penicillium. So, a chemical produced by a fungus that kills bacteria. So, B. A new organism is discovered. It contains DNA in a cellular structure. To which group of organisms could it belong and to which group could it not belong? It could belong to bacteria, but it cannot belong to virus because viruses do not have a DNA in a cellular structure. They can either have a DNA or an RNA. Question number 27. The diagram shows an industrial fermenter. Question number 27. The diagram shows an industrial fermenter. Why is sterile air essential for the microorganism in the fermenter? To provide oxygen. So right now we can see there are impellers to stir the mixture, but if impellers are absent, then the sterile air has two functions: to provide oxygen and for mixing purposes as well. Which statement is correct for the flow of energy through an ecosystem? All organisms lose energy from metabolic processes to the environment. Yes, because all of them, either energy is wasted or it is being released as heat energy, they're respiring and all. An organism in the food chain passes on as much energy? No. Because, when an organism is eating food, either energy is used for like cell division or active transport, or it is being wasted as heat energy as well. Top carnivores represent the final no. Decomposers, they are the topmost. The diagram shows a pyramid of biomass. Which percentage of biomass is passed from the primary consumer to the secondary consumer? So now, this is producer, first tertiary level. This is first consumer. This is producer, primary consumer, secondary consumer, and tertiary. So primary is 600, and it's this got 600 and it's passing on 120. So what is the percentage which is being passed on? So they're asking for the percentage. So what we're gonna do is, it's pretty simple. All that we have to do is, it's pretty simple. We have to tell how much percentage passed, the first consumer passed on to the secondary consumer. So what we have to do is, it's like saying X%. So we know X% of 600 gives me 120. Because I have to find the percentage that converted 600 into 120. So it's gonna 0, 0. 6x is equals to 120, x is equals to 20. So it's gonna be 20%. In which process is atmospheric nitrogen absorbed in root nodules and combined with other compounds? So this is whenever in nitrogen cycle, the atmospheric nitrogen is converted into ammonium compounds, and this is nitrogen fixation done by the bacteria found in the root nodules of leguminous plants. How many times must an uninfected mosquito feed on human blood to transmit the malarial parasite in the human population? This is at least twice. The reason why, because for example, if there's a mosquito that sits on your skin and bites you, it can be, there are chances that the mosquito is, let's say, uninfected, and the person it's feeding on is infected, so it's gonna suck the parasite in its stomach, and now the mosquito has gotten infected. Now it will go to another person and then infect that person as well. So this is why it's at least 2 times. Why does the oxygen concentration in the river decrease when sewage is discharged into it? The reason being is because the less oxygen is absorbed from the air. No, the amount of oxygen, regardless of sewage, is just equal. There's a decrease in the number of plants. No, there's an increase in the number of bacteria. Yes, because when the number of bacteria it increases, it starts they start respiring, because sewage contains all of these waste products and all, and bacteria decomposes, they act on it, they respire using all the oxygen. This is why oxygen decreases. Moving on to question number 33. The diagram shows the development of a pollen tube and its entry into the ovule. Which part develops into the testa after fertilization? Testa is the seed coat, and this converts into seed, and C is this is the seed. Obviously, the layering right outside the seed is the testa. So this is C. 34. The diagram shows a broad bean seedling. From which part of the seed did structure eggs develop? So, for example, if I have a seed here, let's say, this is the cotyledon, and the thing that is protruding right from the top is gonna always be plumule, which is gonna convert into a shoot and then a stem, and then the thing right below, it's always gonna be radical. So this is plumule. Moving on towards question number 35, which says the diagram shows part of the male reproductive and urinary systems. What is egg? So we know this is the testes. Now testes, they produce sperm that travels through the sperm duct, which loops over ureter and joins urethra. So this is penis, and it is traveling through urethra. This is urethra. What are the functions of the amniotic sac and the amniotic fluid? Act as a barrier to the passage of bacteria and allow the transfer of some antibodies to the fetus, protect the fetus from physical shock, and allow the fetus to yes. This is the function of umbilical cord, because umbilical cord attached, through umbilical cord the fetus is attached to the endometrium. Endometrium wall is the ureter. So amniotic fluid, it prevents mechanical injury. Which process is used to produce insulin commercially? Extracting glycogen from the liver, not liver. Extracting insulin from the pancreas of human volunteers. Inserting a tub. Now the question is, which process is used to produce insulin commercially? Inserting, this is right, but this is not the answer, because it's not telling me how we can produce insulin commercially. This is just saying that we have to extract insulin from the pancreas, which is not right. Inserting a bacterial gene into a person, no, totally wrong. This is not what we do. What we do is that we extract a gene that can code for insulin production, and then we inject it into the bacterial plasmid. Inserting the human gene into bacterium, and then it will reproduce with the help of binary fission and produce multiple and then this process right here will help produce insulin commercially. This is not wrong. This statement is not wrong, but this is not answering our question, which is asking how can we produce. This is just taking out. Moving on towards question number 38. The inheritance of the ABO blood groups depend on 3 alleles: IA, IB, and IO. What are the possible genotypes for a person of blood group A? So we know IA can exist in IA or IAIO, because IO can only express itself in homozygous recessive. So here A will be the dominant and it will express itself as IAA and IO. 2 heterozygous individuals are crossed. Some of the offspring show the recessive characteristics. Now 2 heterozygous, it can be, let's take an example. If we have A and then we have AA, so it's gonna be AA and then it's gonna be AA. So these are the genotypes that we can get. What is the probability that one of these offspring that show the recessive characteristic is homozygous, which is 1? Because what they're saying the question says what is the probability that one of these offsprings, now we know there's one offspring that shows the homozygous recessive. What is the probability that one of these offsprings that show the recessive characteristic is homozygous? So there's asking that what is the probability that out of these there is one which shows homozygous recessive, and what is the probability that it is showing homozygous recessive, and this is just 1, so it's going to be 1. The diagram shows a pair of chromosomes from the same cell. What do the lines labeled P point to? So we know this is a chromosome, and chromosome has genes on it. So the site of genes made up of 2 or more alleles which might be different. So it's not necessary that if this is capital T, it has to be capital T. It can be capital T or small t, or it can be small t or small t. Whatever it can be, so this is not necessary for them to be always the same. We can have different alleles, but they're the same gene. For example, if I have a gene for hair color, so it's gonna be capital H or it can be H. The gene is gonna be the same, but the alleles, they may be different. This is why it's D. So this marks the end of my video. If you liked it, then kindly subscribe. Thank you.